Nigel Farage is leading the charge to call for change in funding for the BBC. He says that the licence fee, particularly in the light of the Donald Trump debacle that is continuing to unfold before our very eyes, means that it's the final straw. It's time to get rid of the licence fee. I think Farage sort of shares my view. I certainly don't want to abolish the BBC. BBC still does a lot of good work. I just think it should learn to pay for itself. We shouldn't be forced to pay for it anymore. If, as it's fond of telling us, that its content is so fantastic and it does such a great service for the nation, people will pay a subscription fee to watch it. Or maybe they could take advertising like other broadcasters. I think it's just time to get rid of the anachronistic TV licence. Now, that's just my feeling, so what do I matter? Doesn't matter what I think. Some people agree with me, Nigel Farage included, others don't. So I thought we might sort of debate this with one person who's passionately in favour of the continuation of the licence fee and one who is not. Who has the opposite viewpoint. So a warm welcome to the show, to sort of in the against corner. He's a Reform councillor, the Reform leader at Portsmouth City Council, George Madgwick. Welcome, George. And for someone who wants to keep the current system, the licence fee going, is former BBC producer John Mair. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining us. Well, let's kick off with you, shall we, John? Why do you think we should keep the licence fee? Do you not agree that even if you keep some of it, the whole idea of 180 quid a year by law is somewhat anachronistic?
No, actually, Kevin, no. I've just edited a book called The BBC After the Licence Fee. And what I think you need is a sensible licence fee. So you have a basic licence fee of maybe 100, 150 quid, which pays for everything the BBC does, which it does brilliantly. And then you have a subscription, the other side of the...
hang on a second. The sound's going.
Can you hear me?
I got you back, John. Sorry.
Okay,
You were saying, if I could just come back to where we lost the sound. You said we should have 150 quid.
150 quid basic fee, where you see everything once, and then the other side of the iPlayer, you pay for things. Because the BBC produces a great product, and they should charge for it. Now, in terms of the alternatives, advertising, ITV is down the tubes, Channel 4 is down the tubes.
That's a good point, actually. Advertising doesn't work anymore. But what about what about full subscription?
No, not full subscription. No, because it needs to be universal. Look, this is a great national institution. It's one of the great that and the monarchy are the only things people abroad actually know about. You know, for 104 years now, they've produced wonderful programs and still do, day after day after day after day. You know. Do you not want that? Do you want the
I want the BBC to carry on making great programmes. I don't think it makes as many great programmes as it used to, but I want the BBC to pay for itself. If it makes such great content that the nation so desperately needs and loves, then subscription models should work for it. I mean,
the licence fee only raises 3.7 billion. You know,
only raises 3.7 billion. You don't think that's quite a lot of money?
Peanuts. Donald Trump is
how much money does ITV survive on every year? It's not 3.7 billion. No broadcaster gets as much money.
Hang on a minute, Kevin.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is suing the BBC allegedly for a whole year's licence fee. So he will take the whole licence fee away from the BBC. This is Trumpism. You know, this is Trumpism. Let's get rid of the opposition. Take away their money. He's done it to PBS. He's done it to NPR. He's done it to Voice of America. He basically doesn't like opposition, nor do reform.
Don't you think the problem there? I'll come to you in a second, George. The problem there is that the BBC has made a terrible mistake.
Nobody defends it. Nobody's defending it.
So he's got the right to compensation, hasn't he? That's what happens when people.
He hasn't got a right to he's got a right to an apology, and then to be told to take a running jump after that.
Well, not really, because if he sued, I don't know, the Times or the Telegraph or the Sun or ITV or Channel 4, yes, they would have to apologise given the circumstances, and all other broadcasting organisations then, and indeed newspaper companies, would then expect to have to pay financial compensation. Why should the BBC be a special case?
Not shown in America, Kevin. Program not shown in America.
Well, have you heard of YouTube?
He won an election.
YouTube. It's on YouTube. That nonsense doesn't count anymore. All programmes are shown everywhere, George.
He's trying it on, Kevin. He's bullied the American media into submission.
All right. Okay. So say he switches his lawsuit to Britain, the BBC will still have to cough up.
He won't succeed.
You can't look. A libel case cannot be settled just by an apology. Now listen, John, stay where you are, because we've got to bring George in.
Read the legal opinions on it. Legal opinions say forget it, Donald.
Yeah, no. I can give you legal opinions which say he's in for a hell of a lot of money. George, let me bring you in. I mean, I'm not trying to gang up on Johnny. I respect his opinion. I personally think the licence fee has had its day. I assume you agree with me. If you do, explain why.
Yeah, I mean, let's unpack everything John just said. It's funny that the two big institutions of our country, right, the monarchy and BBC, are both riddled with scandals at the moment. And BBC especially, this is the home of Jimmy Savile, of Hugh Edwards, of the Princess Diana scandal, even recently the Bob Villain scandal, and now this. They are not fit for purpose. They haven't been for several years. Institutionally, I believe that they're corrupt. And unlike a private corporation, they don't have any masters to beckon to, which yes, does have its positives, of course, because they can do really balanced, impartial and diverse content that probably wouldn't get made without a BBC licence fee. However, they're not responsible. Clearly, they're not responsible. They keep making errors, and they make error and error and error. The tax has been a stealth tax, in my opinion, for donkey's years. And as you said, the BBC is historic. They've got a lot of content, and there could be alternative funding models. But every single kind of analyst at the moment is saying there's probably a value of £8 to £9 billion on the sale of BBC. Personally, I think that's the way it should go. It should go into corporate hands. And with that, a different funding model, we've got a massive back history of shows, programmes, data that we could sell off to acquisition partners. That's how you raise the money for the BBC and keep it going. The only thing I personally like about the BBC is their local programming. I really do like that. I think that's very balanced. I think it's very neutral.
That's only because they put you on. That's only because they put you on, George.
They don't, actually, to be honest with you. They don't.
He's from Reform.
I wish they did. They put me on for the very first time only 2 weeks ago. So I wish they did put me on more. But I like it because when I turn on the news channel at 6:30, it always does seem like balanced and fair local information that I do worry that we wouldn't get without it. That's the only positive. But at the end of the day, it's past its time now. People do not want the BBC. It's been wildly unpopular for polls for decade now, where people don't...
Rubbish.
Well, let me just... I want to talk more generally about the BBC in just a second, John, but I do want to go back to this lawsuit. Now, the BBC has apologised for doctoring the speech of Donald Trump. Yeah. Also, in a further admission of guilt, the Director General, Tim Davie, and the head of news, Deborah Turnus, have stepped down, have resigned. So you've got an apology, the departure of the two people in charge. These are inherent admissions of guilt. Why should the BBC just get away with an apology? Any other broadcaster would have to pay millions for that.
Would they do that in America? New York Times and CNN are telling Donald Trump to sling his hook at the moment.
They've done it twice. I mean,
but my point.
Two American media organisations have paid Donald Trump off for similar claims.
Yeah, the CBS, Paramount paid him $16.5 million, $16.5 million for splicing it too.
In those cases.
Yeah, but my point, John, answer this though. You seem to believe and quite, I respect you for saying, well, the BBC has made a mistake here. There's no doubt about that. Why do you think that the BBC alone, if you like, in the arena of libel, should get away with a mere apology when any other broadcaster or newspaper company would have to pay a hell of a lot of financial compensation for that libel. Why should the BBC get away with that?
The BBC produces 9,000 hours.
No, but why should it get away with just an apology? No, never mind. I don't care how many thousand hours it produces. Why should it get away with just an apology?
Because, Kevin, it belongs to us. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
I don't care if it belongs to. That's like. But John, that is like saying that a newspaper should never pay out any libel money if it defames someone because the poor shareholders will have to pay. That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. If it's broken the libel laws, if it's defamed someone, the BBC is going to have to cough up.
There's been, Kevin, there's been no trial. There's no guilt. You know, the BBC has said, we're sorry, and they're right to say we're sorry. But you know, but go back to George. George, why don't we abolish rates? Why don't we abolish council tax?
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
Massive skew and a plot twist, doesn't it? But like, you know, going back to Donald Trump and what you were saying about whether he should pay or not, I don't think anybody sitting in this room would like to pay more license fees to pay Donald Trump. I don't think anybody wants to do that.
It would double. It would double to pay Donald Trump.
It probably would. But at the end of the day, as Kevin said, the program has done wrong. And you said they haven't admitted guilt. They have. They apologised. They
have admitted guilt.
And they've apologised. So sorry.
Down.
Yeah, and so any other organisation, broadcaster or newspaper company, having apologised, top people having quit, admitted they've done wrong, we're sorry, they then have to pay a shed load of money. Why should the BBC be excused that?
Kevin,
well, they do, John. They just do. Why should the BBC be excused that?
Let's talk about Talk, which has just fired a front person for apparently a racist tweet.
And I'm not sure what the relevance of that is, though, John, because
what's that got to do with it?
Paid by advertisers. It's a completely different kettle of fish. BBC is paid by the general public. They should be held to a much higher standard of impartiality and neutrality and fair reporting. So talking about a corporate organisation is not comparable at all.
So George, why don't we get rid of the council tax and rates and all of that, and actually don't provide any services?
How are you going to fund that, John? Why would you advocate?
I don't know. You tell me. You tell me.
Okay, can I just stop for a second, right, John? Nigel Farage says that the Donald Trump debacle is the final straw. He branded the BBC rotten to the core, claiming it had become a byword for sleaze, hypocrisy, arrogance, anti-Semitism, and worse. They've got a problem in the news department. It has been a citadel of partiality, of biased reporting, hasn't it?
All of those words are actionable, aren't they? But what Farage said, you know, sleaze, etc. No, come on.
Actionable.
Farage,
the BBC want to try that, do they?
Well, no, they don't. They don't because
they'd lose.
No, I don't know if they'd lose, but Trump is going to lose if he tries it on in the British court. Sure as hell, he's going to go with tail between his legs.
Why is he going to lose?
Because A is out of time, so he can't bring a case here.
Well, that's not necessarily the case. That's not necessarily the case. I know what you mean.
And he didn't know about it, and actually he won in the
election. So in actual fact, the date, when you say out of time, the time is dictated from the moment the litigant finds out. So he's not out of time. He's not out of time. He's not out of time.
For the moment of the so-called libel, I would have thought.
George, I think that my problem with the BBC at the moment is I feel they're charging me 180 quid a year, or the best part of that.
For great value.
In order to be lied to by their news department. What do you feel, George?
I think the one thing
hang on, John.
I think the one thing me and John may be able to agree on is some of the content that it puts out is valuable. I think we can both agree on that. It does push out some good content. But I think fundamentally, as you've said, Kev, the issue is the public trust in the organisation. They've now repeatedly, over decades, failed the general public. As you say, they aren't balanced. I mean, and the BBC forget they're not meant to be balanced. They're meant to be neutral. And there's a big difference between being balanced and neutral. And they are no longer neutral.
Which is, George? What's the difference?
The difference difference is neutrality give you an impartial opinion without either side of the story. Balance is by creating two opposing factors on the same show. So, for example, bringing a Green member on and a Reform member on. That's balance. Their job isn't to balance.
Which news I did last night.
It's to be neutral.
Last night.
And that's what I like about BBC's local reporting service. It is neutral. Their national system is not necessarily. Look at the Scottish referendum, for example. We know that they had been found for that because they weren't neutral. They weren't balanced on the Scottish referendum.
So George, is Talk balanced? Is GB News balanced?
We don't pretend to be, John. We don't pretend to be.
No, it's irrelevant.
The BBC maintains it is balanced and impartial. Right. It is nothing of the sort. It is left-wing bias. We know it. It is anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, and there is nothing more biased than biased reporters, biased journalists who pretend they're not biased.
Correct. But the thing is the fundamental point here is, and please let's stop missing this, is that Talk and every other organisation is a privately run organisation paid for privately. It's not a publicly funded organisation, and publicly funded organisations have to be upheld to a certain account and a certain standard.
And to Ofcom rules, as does Talk, as does GB News. The Ofcom rules and impartiality are there for all of you.
Yeah, so we try to be balanced. We try and comply with the Ofcom rules.
You bring on people like me because I'm your token Ofcom lefty.
Exactly, John. Exactly right, John. By the way, what's that delicious-looking wine you're drinking? You're making me jealous.
I don't know. I've just been to Philip Pullman event.
Oh, okay.
The queue for the wine was an hour long.
Oh, okay, okay. So
I'm going home.
Well, listen, it's great to have you both on, and I think, in all these debates we'll always agree to differ. But John, good to talk to you. And Jill,
BBC will be very poor, that's all I'll tell you.
Well, we'll see what happens with the lawsuit. It's a fascinating situation either way. So George,
he's getting crap legal advice, by the way.
Well, let's see. You're determined to have the last word here, aren't you? Go on, George, get one in. He's going to lose. He's going to win. He's going to win, isn't he? John, thank you so much for joining us. That's John Mair and George Madgwick from Portsmouth City Council. John Mair for the BBC, their former BBC producer. What do you think? I mean, do you think that we should carry on paying the licence fee? I certainly think they've got to get rid of this legal aspect. Until recently, people were getting sent to jail for not paying to watch Strictly Come Dancing or something, not paying their licence fee. So I think we've got to look at the legality of all this. But John's saying perhaps we should have a reduced licence fee. I think 150. We'd have to go a lot less than that. Say 75 quid plus subscription. Sort of BBC Plus service. What do you think of that? Or do you agree with George and indeed me that we shouldn't have a licence fee at all? I just think it's anachronistic. It's one of those things from the past.